and welcome to Author Chat with Andrea. I'm your host, AndreaRoseWashington, and I'm the indie author of Adlathea, Alendal Book 2, The Journey, coming out soon, and Amatree's Magic. Today, I am joined by the amazing writing duo of Christina and Eddie Sledge. They are the authors of The Story of Christina and I, Our Marriage and Essay, Ricardo's Collisions, Andre's Confessions, and Holiday Entertaining with Christina. So welcome and thank you guys for joining me. How are you doing today?
Doing
Hi,
great.
thank
Thank you for
you.
having
We're happy
us.
to be here. We're doing well.
Well, I am so glad that you guys decided to join me on the first episode of Author Chat with Andrea.
Oh.
um, because we've known each other for a couple of years now. And I will say you guys have blown me out of the water when it comes to publishing books in a couple amount of years,
We've been busy for sure.
which is always a good thing because we need more books by us out there. So, first question. So your first book is The Story of Christina and I. And it's a beautiful love story about your memoirs, about your life. Can I just ask, why was that the first book you decided to publish? Like, why did that story need to be told?
Well, at the time, I was in Towson taking a graduate class, and it was family relationship class. So me and my partner had to do a paper on each other family, and before that, I wasn't really too close to my family, anything like that. So when she did a paper on me, I did a paper on her, and we read each other's stories, and I was like, wow, she got a major story. She was like, my story is crazy. So I read it, and I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy, and I wanted to build on it. So when I started building on it, I wanted to continue to write it, but I can't write it without my wife because I knew her since she was 14 years old, and she played a big part of my life since she was 14. Only woman I ever loved. So I asked her, persuaded her, and she caved in, and we got down and we wrote it, and that was it.
Yeah, and I think, it really was more of like a passion project at first. It was something that we just kind of said, okay, yeah, we want to do this, but then realized, oh, wow, this is, it's a really good love story and it'll be nice to share with people and, just to show people that they're not the only ones that may go through something in a relationship, in a marriage. And so we wanted to use it to inspire people.
Mhm.
It is a very sweet story. I love Black love. I love love in general. And the fact that you guys wrote this love story and you've told me some of the behind the scenes information about this book, and I still can't believe everything you guys have gone through, been through, and just what you sort of stepped out on, like in faith when it came to love. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful story, and I am so glad that you guys did write it. But it's also just sort of very, what's the word? Open, vulnerable to write your love story like that, because it's
Yeah,
not just something you
definitely.
wrote for yourself. You're sharing this with the world. And one thing I learned when I became an author was like the moment it's out there, people are going to judge you. So
Yeah.
how did you deal with that feeling of this is our love story, it's the truth, it's what we went through to get to where we are today? How did you like mentally prepare yourself for accepting what other people might say about your love story, good or bad?
Yeah, I think that was the hardest part because I have always been more of a private person, and Eddie's always pretty much been literally like an open book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to really convince me, and then at the same time, I learned that once folks started reading it, we had such good feedback that it put me at ease to learn that people were inspired. They really were inspired, and
Yeah.
they just thanked us for just being honest and candid and, like you said, vulnerable and just allowing our story to just be heard. And so the initial shock of, oh my God, my business is out there. Once that kind of wore off after, I want to say a couple weeks, then I realized, okay, you know what? I'm okay with this. I'm comfortable with it. We started talking about it more. We're on podcasts and interviews and things like that. And that's when I realized that it was really important to share our stories so that others know that they're not alone and they can relate. And it really breaks down those walls that a lot of times we put up because we don't want to share what's
Mm-hmm.
been going on in our lives.
I
So
mean,
that helps.
I was excited from day one. So, like she said, I could tell someone my story, and when I connect the dots back to my beginnings was always started with drama. So even before I was born, it was drama in my life. Before I was born, so I can't tell my story without letting someone understand who I am, and it was therapeutic.
Yeah,
It was very
definitely.
therapeutic.
Definitely cathartic.
Understanding stuff, and and that's why I chose to put her name on the cover, story of Christina and I, because I can't tell my story without her. So
Aw.
that really made me feel good about it too.
Love, little heart, big heart. Crying and singleness over here. Okay, so
Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that book dropped the day before her birthday, so that was a birthday gift.
Yes.
It's not too many birthday gifts you can come with that.
Yeah.
like
So,
you put it out there forever, like no matter what. This is our love story. Everyone can read it. That's why I stick to fiction.
we got that too. We got that too.
Yeah.
So speaking of fiction, you have a series, and the first two books of the series is out. The first one's called Ricardo's Collisions, which is a doozy. People read it, pick it up, and read it because if you like me and you like other people's drama, you need to read this book. And then you have Andrea's Confessions, which is the sequel. So this is a very different sort of complete different genre than the story of Christina and I, and then also your essay on your marriage. So where did this come from? Like, where did this whole idea come from?
We'll start with Ricardo.
Yeah. So Ricardo came. My brother-in-law was killed. Her brother was killed, and we talked about that in our book, the story of Christina and I. And he meant a lot to us. But I wanted to write something to see what he saw before he was killed in Baltimore. And I wanted to do like a nonfiction book on it, but I just didn't know how to start it. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I started. It didn't start with Ricardo. It started with James, the character in the book, James, who was killed. Mm-hmm. And once I saw it through his eyes, and I just tried to imagine what he saw, and just came up with a story. The rest just fell in place, and it was inspired over that. Yeah. And then we just ran with it from part 2 and everything. But that's how Ricardo got started. Yeah. And I've always been a person who try to. When I see people in crowds, like baseball games, something like that, I like to see what the person sitting next to you is thinking. So I don't look at the star and think about what star think. I'm thinking about the guy that's sitting next to the star, what he could be going through in his life. Because my life, my family, and everyone has so much drama in our lives that everyone has a story. So I like to think about the person next to you, what their story is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very interesting take. Instead of it being almost like main character energy, you're giving the side character, so to speak, the best friend, the sidekick, their story, which is actually a very interesting take because we often leave them by the wayside. We often don't think about what the best friend of the main character is going through, what the best friend or what the person who was left behind while they went on this grand adventure and they come back home and they're like, oh yeah, I'm now this famous Wiccan witch person and you're still the girl from next door. So it's very interesting to see a story from the side character's point of view. So that's a very interesting take because I haven't seen that before. I may steal that idea, not the storyline, but that
idea. So all of our characters in our book, we put you in the eyes of that character. So you see what we see and what they probably thinking and stuff like that. So that's the goal.
And because there's so much drama in it, it's like a soap opera, right? So
love other drama.
So we do break it down in parts, and then each part has a character list. It's like a soap opera, so you get to kind of follow along because there's so many people in these books, but you want to keep up with it. And I think that's how I feel. I feel it's like a little soap opera when you're reading it.
When I was writing it, I didn't look at it like that. I just wrote it to be like, okay, these are like 8 people or 9 people stories that probably get put together and mumbo jumbo and thrown in a pot. What we get, And once I started seeing through his eyes and started making fictional stuff around him, I just started running with it. And it just turned out to be like some real stuff when she read it.
I was like, oh no, we need a character list. Yeah, I added that because I was like, who is this person and this person? And I started making my own character list, and I said, okay, now we're going to put this in here. And then that's what a lot of readers said to us. They were like, oh, I love the character list. I was able to kind of go back and remember this person, and I forgot about that person. And so it was helpful.
And that's how we write. When I write, I'm raw, and then she'll get it and tweak it and go, okay, let's just write this sentence out better and stuff like that.
We collaborate.
Yeah.
And I love that. Because that sort of goes right into sort of the next part is, what is your writing process like? Because for me, I'm an outliner and I'm a pantser. So I outline everything, but like I don't really have a super detailed outline, but I'm like, okay, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end, and here's like 2 subplots that have to happen in the story. And then I just like write by the seat of my pants for the rest of it. So how do you guys, since you're a duo, what's your process like? Do you have an outline or before you write raw? Or
with me, I can't do outline.
We'll start with his process first.
I tried to do an outline before and I just can't do it. So for me, I get an idea. I sit around a couch, or me and Chris talk about something. Like one of our books we wrote that's coming out soon. We was writing and we were just talking about medicine, and something popped in my head. And I was like, what about this? So once I get an idea, I automatically go to a beginning and then I'll go to an end. Like I'll sit there and be like, hey, I'll type it up. A beginning. Just give me 3 sentences to the beginning. I want to start it. And then I automatically go to the end and be like, I decide I want to end it. And then that right there, the middle, I just find ways to put it together.
Yeah. And so when we collaborate on a book, like our memoir, our memoir is different because it was our actual information.
Your story,
yeah, it was facts. But Ricardo's collisions and Andre's confessions, he's the primary writer, and then I'll come in, I'll read his first draft, and then I'll say, okay, well, we need to tweak this, or we need to change this, or we need to move this around a little bit, or there's a hole here. So when we collaborate, he starts with the draft, and then I'll review it, and then we'll just kind of negotiate. Negotiate.
Yeah.
But then if it's just my book, like my holiday entertaining book or the essay, I pretty much kind of put those together. I need an outline. I'm like you. I need an outline. I'm a planner, so it's like I start with an idea. I'll have but I need to outline everything. Like I need to have like the chapters, at least a high level of what's going to be in that chapter, the sections, and then I could begin writing. Without that, I feel like I'm just flying blind. Like
one of the fiction books that we have that we got together, we wrote together is she put an outline out for me, and that book is taking me so long. I mean, I already finished the first draft. I got to do it's like because you know why? Because I got to stick by the process of what chapter outline, right? And I'm a writer that just go by the seat of my plans. That's what's going to take me. Let me go there. But then just doing outlines, like, because remember, we're working on this book. So I got to stick by the outline where we agreed on. Well, actually, she agreed on. I just shook my head. So then that's the hardest book I had to write so far, because it's like I'm following the outline, and it's like it throws me off my target, but I know it has to be done.
Yeah, he didn't like that. He was,
but it's still a great book.
But without it, he was like, well, what is this character supposed to do in this situation? Or, what are you thinking that's good? So it was just too many questions. And I was like, okay, let's just write an outline. And then that way I can at least give you the high level, and then you can run with it from there. Yeah. And then that's when he was like, okay. So he agreed to it. I had to get him to agree to it.
I think because I didn't start with outlines. I started by writing by the seat of my pants as well. Like I started, and then I for my first book, because I had to change it with my first book, there was just too many characters I had in that book, and I couldn't keep them straight. So I was like, okay, I need to start like putting things down, and it also helped me go back and reference for books now that have sequels, then now I have a reference of like my little book Bible of, all right, this is this character. He was in this chapter and he said X, Y, and Z. So he can't say A, B, C in the next one because it doesn't really fit with him. So it's great to see how you guys are working and doing it together and making it work for both of you guys, because maybe just Christina, but maybe, but it is great to have that reference to come back to. I know at least that's how it works for me.
But see, also too, when I start writing, if I'm writing a sequel to something, I'm starting the second one straight ahead. So like if I finish Ricardo, I'm going a day later, I'm going right into Andre. Then after Andre, I already wrote part 3 already.
Yeah,
so
he's done with part 3.
That's why, you know, I that's what makes me remember the characters and what they said the last one. Cause I'm going right into the next book.
Yeah, he's kind of a machine that way. Yeah.
Only we all could be like that, because I had to take a mental break.
He's nonstop. Like
And I was never a writer too. Like, and I hated
high
school. I hated writing in high school. I mean, I wrote in college, and I appreciated writing in college, but I was never in a fiction writer. I didn't want to write a book until I took that class and we wrote story, Christina and I. But I had no interest in writing, nothing. But then once I started, I can't stop.
Well, it shows it comes whenever the writing bug hits people. Whenever, so there's never too late to start writing, people. Whenever you listen to this, so. How do you make time to write? I've started having to do writing power hours to force myself to turn off everything else to focus on my writing, because the life gets busy, life is out there. We have things and errands and families to take care of. So how do you guys as a couple make time to get all of this work done? Because in 2 years you've done more than I have in 4. So
yeah.
How?
You want to start? Well, for me, he's definitely more unorthodox, I guess you could say. For me, I'm kind of like you. I need to dedicate time to do it. Otherwise, it's not happening. I'm not going to be I have an essay that I've been writing since February, and I haven't finished it because we're doing all this. We're doing all these other things. But I need to do what you're doing. I think the power hour would help me. So maybe I'll join you next time and just kind of, finish my essay finally. But Eddie, he's different.
I just, when I was in high school, I used to rhyme. So when I used to rhyme, I used to just pick up a book, or if wherever I'm at, like on a bus or something like that, I'll just get a piece of paper and just write it. So right now, when I get the feeling I need to write that, or that'd be a good part, I just get a pen and paper, write it down, or just grab my phone and just put it in there and keep it, hold it, and then put something to it. So I'm I don't set a time frame. When it hits me, I'm ready to go. I'm just ready to go. So I don't set a time, because I'm orthodox, right? So even with the outline, I don't feel comfortable being forced to be. I have to be this way in this box. And it works for everyone else, but to me, I gotta just be it gotta hit me, and then I'll take it. I just been used to it, and I just stay with that. That's the best way I can write.
Yeah, he's very impromptu, just flexible. Yeah, he'll just be writing out of nowhere. He's like, okay, wait, I have something, and then
if I'm at work, I just boom, write it down.
Go. Let's go ahead.
If only we could all be that lucky. And that awesome, because I definitely do try to write like that. I definitely do try to oh, you know what? This random idea came. Let me go and type it up. For the closest I get is voice memos.
Okay.
Do a quick voice memo. Here's a scene, and then I have to remember to come back to it. And that's the issue.
That's a good idea, though. Voice memos. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
I don't like my voice, so I can't do that.
Which is why I have other people do my audiobooks, because I don't like my voice. So you have very different genres books: a love story, a marriage essay, a fictional story about mafia, and I'm calling it mafia because it's super drama for me. And then or soap opera, and then you have a holiday book. Which one was the most fun for you to write?
I'll let you go first.
It was the last one, Andre. I mean, the one that's published now, the best one to write published, is Andre Confessions. I mean, every character in that book I was telling Chris this earlier. Every character in that book I knew had a closing to it. Either they died or they part ran out. So I knew every character. Every character in that book has a closing, and
Mhm.
and they have a life before that closing. And that life, it just knowing that person I wrote just goes anywhere, and that's the fun part about it, right?
Mhm.
So I didn't have any. All right, so Andre, he's a fugitive. He's a fugitive detective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So what
He's
do you
on the
do?
run.
Yeah.
He's
So
on the
what do you
run.
do when you on a run? You don't stay in the bush. Everyone can't stay in the bushes and
Like
the forests
survival,
and eat plants and
survivalist.
berries for
Yeah.
survival. You got to do something else. So that took a life on its own. The people that he meets take a life on its own. So it was so much fun, right? I mean, all my books are good,
Yeah.
but it was so much fun writing Andre because it was like I knew they had closure, everyone, but what life they had endless possibilities in their lives to do anything, and it was just so much fun to, put all that together, and then it was fun.
Like to create it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have like our own little universe, the
Mhm.
Desire Family Saga universe. So it's
Mhm.
pretty cool. For me, because I'm a Christmas fanatic, I miss Christmas.
Yes,
So that's
you
my
are.
favorite holiday. You know this, right? Andrea knows this. So for me, it was definitely the holiday entertaining book, which I have right here.
Yes, pick it
Um,
up.
we're definitely not in season for that right now, but
It's never too early to start planning.
never too early. So for me, that was fun because it's always been a passion project that I've wanted to complete because I love Christmas. So yeah, I just loved it. And then especially when we had the photographer and we were doing the
Mhm.
photography for all the food and everything, like just to see it come alive and to finally see the pictures and just to put it all together and touch it in my hand. Like I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm in Christmas heaven. This is great. And I made a trailer for it. So yeah, that was fun.
Mhm. That's all hers. I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with it. Yeah.
That is a feeling of when you get to hold your book or your favorite book
Mhm.
or the one you had the most fun doing in your hand for the first time. I know when I held Adelathea, which was something called something completely different when I first published it, and that's a whole story. When I first held it in my hand, I almost cried because it's just that feel
Oh,
of all of your
mm,
hard work. Um,
absolutely.
so I'm going to ask you guys a question that I get
Well,
asked.
actually, we was inspired by that because when we bought
Yes,
your
we
book,
were inspired by your
we
book.
bought your book and we held it. We was like, oh man, like this is something. Like she really wrote a book. Like and we wrote something before.
Yeah,
Because
we
as
were
a
in
we was
production.
in production
We
of a
were,
book. But
yeah.
then when we got chosen, we held it. We was like, oh, we're gonna do this.
Yes.
And we got together, did it, and that's where
Yeah, I don't know if
Christina and
I
I
ever
was
got to
born.
tell you that, but
Yeah, you
Yeah,
yeah,
didn't tell me that.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I held it. I was like, oh, we
This
doing
is a
this.
book.
Like
Yeah,
this
it's a
is
book.
we
yeah.
doing this. And yeah, there you go.
It doesn't hit you until you're holding it. You're just like, wow, I like good or bad, I did it. I
Yeah,
like
Yes.
yeah.
it's done. So I'm gonna ask you guys a question that I get asked at every single Comic Con that I go to, and it is the hardest question to ask. Because I always equate it to which child do you love the most?
Oh wow.
Which book? So I asked you which one was the most fun to complete.
Mm-hmm.
Which book is
Mm.
your favorite?
Oh. Oh my gosh, that's so
Which
hard.
my favorite baby?
That is hard. You're raised like a baby.
It's crazy. You
Ah!
know why? Because I'm writing so much that I actually forget what's in these books
Yeah.
until I talk about it, and I get
Mm-hmm.
excited because it's like, wow, yeah, I forgot that was in the book. Um, I think my baby will be it's tough, but it will have to be story of Christina and I because I talk so much about my father, me and Chris, and my life that when I read it, I'm like, damn, like does it get better for this guy? And it's crazy because it's me. So I think the story of Christina and I is like the birth child, like the favorite, because the other ones they
Mm.
gonna come, but Christina and I we put work in that. We negotiated. Um, it's our story.
It's the first book
It's
from.
our first book, and it's a
Yeah.
classic. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we
Hmm.
but it's tough though. But yeah, Christina and I.
Uh oh, that's hard. Oh gosh.
But ask me that when the other 7 come out. The other 7 come out. Ask me
No,
that question
I think
again.
I would say it's this one.
Ask me that again.
Yeah, this is mine. I think because it's mine, it's like, oh mine.
Yeah.
Like, so I think that's like my baby. I think that was the one that I held the most, like a baby.
Yeah.
Once I got it, I was like, oh my god. But no, he's right. To stir Christina now, I think is second. That is definitely a very close
It's tough
tie,
because
almost a tie.
Ricardo collisions.
Oh yeah.
That set it off for us. I mean, we could go on and on with chapter on and on books with that. Andre, the book Andre Confessions. That's from front to back. Is like, I mean, both of them page turn from front to back was like, wow, like who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
But Christina and I, that's the one that gave us birth, and we birthed it, and it was like, like it's crazy. It's our story.
And I think Ricardo was like our baby though. Like, right here. We both created him like an actual baby, and
that's the book when we held
like that's how we felt.
That's the book when we held in our hand. We was like, wow. I mean, Christina and I, we held in our hands. We was like, wow, we did it.
Yeah.
This is ours. But then to write a fiction book that we had no plan to even write.
Yeah.
And it's a great fiction book, and it's like, oh man, what the hell's this? And you held it. It was like, wow. So Ricardo's a tight tie for first.
Yeah.
Because now you think about it, it's like, wow, that's
a hard question, Andrea.
Yeah.
It is, and I get asked that question every single Comic-Con that I go to, and people the people see that I have like 3 different books out. I was like, well, which one's your favorite? I'm like, and then if they have their kids in front of them, I specifically say that's asking like which kid's your favorite. Like, which one do you love more?
It's tough, but
that's a good question.
Yeah, we put our feet in the autumn, so
yeah. And then for Ricardo, we like, and you know how this is, Andrea, like just the cover of your book and the character on the front, and you're trying to embody that character that you wrote, so to just actually see him, and it's like, yeah, that's him.
But the most impressive one that we have, autumn impressive, I have to say, is the holiday book, because it was like, it was like, we could do this. And the work that she put in the photograph and all that stuff, it's like, wow, like you sat back and watched it like, wow, she really wanted to put it together to do it. That's the most impressive, personally, the personal impressive one that we could say. But autumn is outstanding.
Oh,
none of them take anything.
Spoken like true parents who can't choose between their kids.
Yeah, that's
I know,
what it is.
right? I think we kind of went through all of them.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, because I always tell them it's my first book, As with Thea, because it's the one that made me an author. It's the one that and that's literally the excuse that I use, because it's hard to choose one, because each one of my main characters, they're a version of me and how I would handle something. So it's hard to pick which one do you love more, because they're all a piece of you. They're all different in their own way. They're all special in their own way. So I just wanted to see how you guys are going to answer that question, because you answered it the same way I would. I love this one.
It's rough. It's rough.
It was the first one that made me an author. Yeah. But I also love this one because it was the most. I love Amatri's Magic because it was the most fun for me to write. Then the Lindell is just like a tough story of a girl trying to really come through. Like, it's just. So, no, I definitely understand. I just wanted to see how you guys were going to answer that, because it is a very hard question to answer. And every author is very different, because I've never met one who automatically at the top of their head says, oh, this one's my favorite. Yeah. It may think I like this one was the most fun to write, which is why I asked that question first. Yeah.
That's good.
But they never ever say which one is their favorite, because it's all a piece of them. Yeah. It's all their child in some way. So what is coming down the pipeline? Because I know you said you have like a lot more books already written and ready. You already have part 3 of your series done. What's new? What are you working on? What can we look forward to coming out in this year? I'm expecting like 10 more books this year, the way you
Well, we're actually taking a slight hiatus from publishing books because we are producing a film. We're in post-production. It is based off of the story of Christina and I. It's a documentary about us and how we, our love story. So that is what that's our new baby that we've been, really focused on. So that's in post-production, and it'll be out in a couple months. So that's like a different type of baby,
Yeah.
which we're
So
excited about. And then we'll have one book at the end of the year for Christmas.
But then we probably put out 3 next year or something. It depends how we keep going with our film. Christina and I, we keep going. But it's just amazing to sit there. You see TV shows stuff all the time, and then when you actually make a film, and you're like, wow, this is what it takes to make a film, and all of us got together and did it, and it was like, wow, like this, and it's like writing a book. It's like once you do it, you be like, I could do something else. I want to do something else. So our books are going to be screenplays anyway. So we got to take the time and make screenplays out of them. So
Yeah.
that is a task upon itself. I've tried
Yeah.
to transition things to screenplays, and it's a whole different like mind process of writing. How? Because since you said this is a documentary of the story of Christina and I, what was that process of transferring it to a screenplay? Because
good question.
I gave up screenplays. I have a friend who does films out in California, and I was like, if I need a screenplay, I'm just going to come to you because I can't do this. This is just a whole different part of my brain that does not work.
Yeah.
Was that process of transitioning writing styles? Because you're not really creating something new. You're taking what you've already created and transitioning it to a different format. Did you keep everything? Did you have to take some stuff out? Like how did that process work?
Yeah, so this particular documentary is a short. So
Okay.
it's going to run time about 30-40 minutes. So yes, we definitely did not include everything. We had to break it down in acts. So like the beginning, our lives before we met each other, and we met each other, and then marriage. So we definitely had to condense things, but to still tell the story. And so to transfer it from the book form into the screenplay, yeah, because you have to think, especially since it's a documentary, right? It's us being interviewed. So we had to put it in that format. We had to learn how to put it into screenplay. I'm in NYU right now working on film production, so that's a part of my process is writing screenplays. And so in doing that, that was the process. You just you have to think about, okay, well, what is the scene? What are we going to have in the scene? Who's being interviewed? What are you saying? So yeah, it was a whole different way. Like you said, like your brain has to work slightly differently to get it all out and to make sense for when you actually start shooting it.
There's another medium that I'm like interested in, and it's also also I will say that I'm probably going to come back to you guys to make my book into a film, just saying. But there's also another medium of like graphic novels, sort of becoming big with indie graphic novels. Is that something that is on the horizon for you guys for like a possible idea, or no? Because you both utilize screenplays when you're apparently I've learned this part that you utilize the screenplays and the drawing format. So since you're going to turn your stuff into a film, just wondering, is that a different medium that you're interested in, or just print and film?
I think definitely for us it's probably going to be film.
Okay.
Either film or TV.
Okay.
For especially for the fiction books, the series, we definitely see that being like a series potentially. Saying and then,
watch it.
yeah. But then
the story of Christina, that would be like a movie.
Yeah, we actually want to make a feature film for that. So yeah, we're gonna make an actual feature film.
Because it was several times where we should have met, but we didn't met, and we was in the same facility of each other, And then it just got to a point we got to high school, and that was lined up like the adjustment girl.
Yeah.
No matter what we did, it was like we was meant to come back to this point. And once we, it wasn't love at first sight. That's the beauty of it. But it was needed at love sight.
Yeah. So I think for us it's probably going to be more like nonfiction documentary style films, feature films, and TV series.
Okay, that's
Mhm,
still good. I
mhm.
mean, I have a TV hookup, now, so when I want to turn my book into a movie, I know who to come to.
Mhm, mhm.
So, what is your advice to yourself 2 years ago? Like, if you have to
Mm.
start all over, because I have a whole it's embarrassing, like the book that I have mentally have that I can tell myself, like, don't care about like reviews, don't care about this or care about this, put the time and effort into XYZ. What is it that you wish you knew 2 years ago that you want to tell like a future author who is trying to figure out their way of writing?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, future author,
Like if you
not
got
ourselves.
well, like telling yourself, but advice that also can work for future authors. Because whenever anyone
Mm.
comes to me and asks for advice, I tell
Mhm.
them what I wish I had known for myself,
Okay.
not necessarily advice specifically for them because everyone's story is different.
Mhm.
So I always tell them I wish I didn't care about reviews as much when I first published, because they're judging something that they didn't do. They're judging something that I did, and you can go ahead and judge from your seat at home, but I put the work in.
Right.
Hmm.
So, or like put the money, put pay for the editor.
Yeah.
Don't just
Yes.
trust your
Yeah.
Nazi friends. Like they did
Yes.
a good
Yeah.
job, but or put the money in for the cover artist. Like what
Mhm.
is something
Mhm.
that you
Mhm.
knew that you know now that you wish you knew then that could also still be
Mhm.
advice for other people?
I think definitely one thing that we learned with the first book that we learned not to do with the other books, because the first one, is that's the test, that's the guinea pig,
Mhm.
so for us, I think we learned that we need to spend a lot more time in editing, um not only before we give it to the editor, because we knew we were going to do that, but just the time that we took internally. So we actually documented the process so
Mhm.
that going forward we would do it better the next time. But I think give yourself that grace to really get it right without
Mhm.
trying to like push it out because you're trying to meet a deadline, or and I think that's the flexibility that we have as indie authors, that we have more autonomy that way.
Mhm.
So for us, as I would say, as a new indie author, talking to ourselves in the past, but the new future authors, I would say, is definitely take the time to do everything right. Like, don't try to push it out because you're getting anxious and you've spent all
Mhm.
this time and you're like, I finished it, I've done it, the manuscript is done, I'm ready now.
Mhm.
Take the real time to really read it through a couple
Hmm.
times, edit before you're ready to move forward.
And I will say, to add to that, do it for you. You know, you're not going to get 365 million people buy it in one day. And like you probably going to get, hopefully, you get 365 million. But do it for you. If you're writing, do it for you. So when you have in your hand, you be like, I did this. You can
Mhm.
enjoy it. Not
Mhm.
and you'll get to understand that not everyone has the time to read your book. Not everyone has the time to go buy your book. They mean well, they support you, but you have to have the patience to say, okay, this person's probably busy, or they bought it and they just didn't read it yet. So
Mhm.
just to tell yourself, like, look, do it for you. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy your wins. Enjoy your victories. You
Yeah.
can't lose,
Hmm.
unless you wrote something that's really really
Out there.
horrible. Yeah, and you didn't put the effort, or you didn't take care of it, like your baby. Um, do it for you. Enjoy your victories.
Also have beta readers.
Yep, have beta readers. Yep.
Yeah, our first book we didn't do that, and then all of our subsequent books we have beta readers, just to have other folks that enjoy reading that could give you objective view.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can take it or leave it, right? But
Mhm.
it's good to at least hear other points of view, and just to see, well, that didn't really make sense to me, I didn't understand this, or maybe there are some tweaks you can make. So I think that's the other thing, is just to take that time before you're ready to fully publish, to go through that process.
Mm-hmm.
That is all wonderful advice. That's all similar to the things that I feel like I've gone through as an indie author. One of the big things for me was pride. Like I definitely had to get rid of my pride when it came to constructive criticism with beta readers. Because if someone has said like, "Oh, I don't really get this," I'm like, well, that's your problem. Like, no, it's everyone's problem if your readers don't understand your story. So that's really great advice, and also the whole writing for you.
Yeah.
That's a great advice as well, because I feel like one of the reasons I became an indie author, and this might be the same for you guys, and for a lot of other people out there as well, is because the market follows what sells. And so if your story isn't, at the time when I guess I first started trying to write, it was teen dramas like Hunger Games, or if it was like vampires were huge for years, and everyone wanted to be a vampire or a werewolf. And it's like, well, if that's not the story I want to write, don't be discouraged because the big six or big five now aren't interested in it because it's not what's selling.
Right.
So yes, I love that advice of write for you. Write the story that you want to read, that you're going to enjoy when you read back, because as long as you're happy with it, unless you know, like you said, wrote a terrible book, but unless you're happy with it, that's all that matters. And having the extra set of eyes definitely is something that helps, because again, when you have tunnel vision when it comes to your book, and you know why your character jumped off the roof, because you understood the character, because you wrote them, so you know the backstory. But then you have someone else who reads it, and it's like, why did this super healthy person jump off the bridge into the water? That made no sense. And to you, it's like, it made perfect sense because of X, Y, and Z. And the person's like, oh, but that wasn't in the book. So how am I supposed to know that? And it's like, oh.
See, and that's the beautiful thing about us too, because she's my alpha reader, so she hits it before anyone else. So if she gets there and she asks me these questions and that don't make sense, and we throwing chairs at each other, or we like, I want to keep this in or something like that, I write for her, because if I could get through her and she appreciate it and give me a standing ovation with some little tweaks and all that, I did my job. So that, but then I'm lucky, because I have someone that's our job, to be the operator and be there to say, I'm pushing this out. So that's our job that we have. So we are kind of lucky to have that.
Yeah, but even after the alpha reader, like,
they have beta readers, but they gotta go through you first.
Yeah. But and then I think it's also good to network with other authors if you can, just to, like what we're doing, just to have conversations and, what worked for you, what is something maybe I should avoid. I think that's the other thing. You don't have to be alone. And
and make no doubt, she is a rough critic. Like if I'm telling you, she's rough and she's raw. So if she's not willing, not willing to push it out, I got to go back to the drawing board to fix a part or a scene, and I'm willing to do that. Long you make sense to you, and I explain to you what I'm talking about. Like you talking about why you jumped in the water and no one understands. I explain that to her. Either she gets it or she's like, nah, you need to tweak it, and we tweak it, we make it better. So, but she's rough. She let me know, no, this ain't working, or no, go back.
And we all need that. I have a good friend whose name also is Christina, who is that for me. And she would say, Andrea, no, I get what you're trying to do, but it doesn't work. You have to either take this completely out, or you have to add 4 more scenes to even make that make sense.
And it's rough. It's rough to hear that. It is rough to hear it, man.
What? No, this is perfect.
Because you put your heart and soul in that part, and you're like, what? I'm not taking that out. And then she makes sense to be like, okay, all right, I could tweak it.
Fine.
I need this part. Sense. I need this. Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, it's rough.
It is a rough thing, but it's also great to have that foundation around you. So is there anything else that you guys would like to share about your writing process, or certain book, or any secrets? Anything?
Just
between me, you, and everyone on the internet.
I would say, writing process. This, if you got to take a break, take a break. I'm not a writing machine. I take breaks too. Have fun. Be open-minded on your topic. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. And like I said, accept all your victories, because that's all they are, victories. Any step that you go forward is something. Either you sold 1 book or 10 million books. To get to 10 million, you have to sell 1.
Yeah.
So you got to have patience, but then also enjoy the process, because this is what you're enjoying to do. This, your hard work and your thoughts and everything's in this book is a great feeling when you have it in your hands. So just enjoy and celebrate your victories.
Yeah. I think that's great. I agree.
That's great. Well, that is all the time that we have tonight. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us, those who did stop in. Thank you, Christina and Eddie, for being here. I will be uploading this recording, the audio, to Anchor and to Spotify and to all the podcasts on Friday. So if you were not able to catch the full recording here, don't worry. You can listen to it later. So please make sure to check out their work. Their links will be in the descriptions of the podcast. And once again, thank you for joining me. I'm AndreaRoseWashington, and I will see you next time.